Someone was trying to dive into something, but instead of water there was cement and street. Hello there everyone, I'm Clown Nebula, and today I welcome you to Ben Wonder Presents A Case of Distrust. This is a new adventure, 1920s style crime detective game. Let's start with this already. What about it? It's very minimalistic, but the branching, the choices, and the suspects you can interrogate are much more in-depth than it seems. I awoke in my desk chair. Oh, is that an elevator? Across from me were his piercing amber eyes. They surprised me at first, but I should have known he'd be there. My cat. My fat cat. Oh no. I stretched and said mid-yawn, not very nice to sneak into a sleeping woman's apartment. But his stare just continued. Oh, so we are a woman detective. Oh, I think? I suppose? I cursed the open window. What? I laughed at this glare. I laughed, because let's be funny. I laughed at this glare. I'd seen San Francisco's shrewd thugs, hardened cops, and deadly politicians, but none could ever match that gaze. I knew I didn't have what he wanted. Reaching into my coat, I took out my knife and flicked it open. Oh. Oh. Okay, let's be trustful. I gave him the knife. Why would you give him? I mean, just put it away or not? Okay. I gave him the knife, sliding it across the desk. Look, I said, that's all there is. Take it or leave it. But a detective knows when she's beat. And I knew then. He wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do. Oh, is that a cop, actually? I sighed, knowing my weakness for his type. Already, I said. Alright, I said. Let's look. Okay. He let out a gleeful meow in victory. Yeah, I thought so. Haha, gotcha, game. I picked up the knife and cut a piece of my apple that the cat had rejected. Always the sore winner, I jabbed. But I was smiling too, because I was telling my truth, the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment. That's nice. Oh, I really love the design of this game too. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him. But right now, the place was clean empty. No food anywhere. I had to prove it to him. This is the case about it, huh? Okay, so we need to click on stuff. No food in the lamps? That lamp had belonged to my uncle Lewis. He'd been an SFPD officer, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives, even while the others jeered at me. I knew he'd been right, but my current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about Lewis. Let's see about him. I thought about Lewis more Lewis, yeah, more often than I wanted. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. Okay, that's not much more, but okay. Got a nice apartment, old schooly style. I really like the style of the 1920s. I wouldn't want to live in the 1920s, but I like the style, at least the visual of it. Okay, in the safe, sure there will be food in there. The regular white icebox, tinged yellow with age, half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income really kept much stocked in it, and right now it was empty. Okay, so the refrigerator, that looks like more of a safe. Probably it is a safe-shaped refrigerator because my cat is not allowed in there because I have no food yet. What's in the book? My old notebook, now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down, even the minor details. Never know what can be useful. Okay, let's take a look at the old cases. The first half I had my old cases, the details from the bits I used to walk in my policewoman days. Okay, of course, policewomen were forbidden from going on patrol. Oh, well, wow, okay. But Lewis often overlooked that rule. Well, I guess in the 1920s, if already women can become police officers, I mean, that was a big deal, actually, for those days. Considering that, I don't know when in America they had the right to vote, but the first ones were in England, so it was about 1928, so that was a huge step for those times. Okay, what about the newer cases? Okay, that's it. I can only check one at a time. A newspaper was flopped on the floor. Its headline about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace, sweeping Russia. It seems the Bolsheviks had lost their head. Okay, so the revolution was in 1918. So I guess this should be like 1924 or something. The same time which the fascism is taking the power in Italy. That's nice. Good old times. Yeah, not. Packaged cigarettes were the latest trend, but I still prefer to roll my own. The ashtray was evidence that it was a practiced skill. I suppose I had a lot of free time back then. Okay. What about it? I have taken a copies of old murder cases from the SFPD records when I left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. At that time, I longed for those type of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. Except for your cat, apparently, so that's something. Okay, what about notes? Show the cats there's no food. Okay. Evidence, statements. Oh yeah, I can collect my statement. I'm the major guilt and witness here around. I kept a small statue underneath the side table. It had been police evidence in a crime. Its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on my way out of the department. Okay, is there any more to... Like going outside, or that would be fleeing the murder scene, the quote-unquote murder scene. The cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. Oh, that motherfucker, now he begs for food too. He kept coming back, though there was rarely a morsel to eat. He continued his loud meowing until I proved to him the place was empty of food. Let's talk to him, haha! It doesn't matter how dewy-eyed you are, cutie pie. We got no food around, I told him. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently still didn't believe that. I needed to contradict somehow, to show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food. I went back to the apartment, but I think I found a clue. That is, the refrigerator is empty, but I want to check the door. Door to the outside world. If I left now, though, the cat would start wailing so loud I get complaints from the neighbors. No, he needed convincing before I could leave. Okay, I think my strongest bet is here. So I guess that's enough for him? I don't think there are any more things I can click on. So, yeah, it's time to contradict the cat. That's a good start for a detective, isn't it? Okay, let's contradict him. There was no case just then, but the cat was meowing and needed attention. I had to contradict the cat by first talking to him, then pointing to a piece of evidence in my notebook that proved the apartment was empty of food. Okay, I guess the icebox is my biggest draw. I like this tutorial too, it's a nice and funny way of teaching how to play. The regular white icebox, tinged yellow with age. Half blocked at the kitchen doorway. My income. I opened the icebox so the cat could see inside. Empty, I told him. Yep. The cat looked quizzically at the open door, then back at me. Sorry, fella, there's no grub in there for me either. He stared at me with eyes as disappointed as I felt. Those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head. Ah, my sister. I don't know about her. My sister Muriel had sent a letter with an update of her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. I never told Muriel, but those letters... I mostly ignored? No, kept it going. Let's be the nice fella here. Hearing about my family, however remote, helped me cope with the isolation I was feeling. I refused to accept it myself back then, but perhaps Muriel had known anyway. You know, this is the offering much of the rude, hard-boiled detective, but you can be much more stronger than a regular hard-boiled detective when you accept your limits and the fact that you need other people, perhaps, if you want to. So I think there's much more strength in someone who accepts it and, instead of ignoring all the facts that someone may want in his life, or in her life. You accept the fact that you need something else, but you work for it somehow. You like to have news of your family because you love them, even though you're a hard-boiled detective and a rude and passable motherfucker, I guess. I refused to accept it myself back then, but perhaps Muriel had known anyway. My sister had the ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. I wanted to change the world. And I like peace, and my measures are 1960-90. I wanted to change the world, to bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. Not that I was helping advance that cause with the types of cases coming my way. That's gonna start, I guess. In our tutorial days, you need to work on animals and then people. My mind spiraled into the usual series of questions. Had I even impacted the women's movement? Had I made any change on society at all? Was my plodding career worth losing traditional happiness? Well, already for the fact that you decided not to go for a family and be a housewife, who was the main stream thing for women at the time, but was a big deal, and become an independent woman, had a job as a police officer too. I mean, that's already changing the world. That's a big impact on the world, especially in the future. Not to the ideal point yet, but working on it. What was the point of the life I had chosen? Feeding cats, I guess. A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Is she the Simpson crazy cat lady, perhaps? A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Guess you can scram now, I said. Nobody's going to come knocking with food for you, fella. Or not. There immediately came a banging on the front door. Beyond the nuisance, this cat was psychic too. You ordered out? I asked him. Yeah, I ordered for a pizza. Or maybe Italian immigrants weren't... They were there, I suppose. The doorway was the regretfully familiar face of Connor Green. Is that Cluedo? I'm the mustard lady in yellow, something like that. I stared at him. I looked past him. His company churned my stomach. I stared at him. Okay, he's a bit creepy with that smile. In the doorway, okay, I stared at him. A hard hand for whoever needed a job done. But Green snitched whatever he was put in a squeeze. Working the bits, I remember that all too well. Remarkably, the underground has been blind to it. But Green wasn't particularly assiduous. I was certain the criminal ranks would eventually plug him. Okay. He looked at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, are you gonna invite me inside? No. I don't think there's no point in trying to close the door because he probably put the foot on there. So I let him through. The door, before closing it. Hey now, he said, looking at my apartment. You know, this clutter might turn off some customers. Maybe not me, though. Okay, you're already being a jerk. So that was his angle, hiring me as a detective. I wondered what a bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt. I'll make this quick. I can't take this to the house or the pigs would laugh me out, and other dicks just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Thought he's gonna be quick, I said, and I started rolling a cigarette. It wasn't quick, and I already rolled and lighted a second smoke when Green finally finished his story. I noted the important bits in my book. Okay, thanks. I had started with a letter slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed to me. It read, "End your game, or we'll end you." He had no signature, instead ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. The Mafia, okay. So that Italians are already there. Green had a lead on a new rum running scheme, a connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon Speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. Jerry Ferry. Okay. They agreed to buy in for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running, but he suspected Redstone Stable. Okay, lead a new rum running scheme. Redstone Stable. Who the hell is that? Another bootlegger of sending the letter. He told me that Stable ran a barber shop during the day and gave me the address. Ooh, that's gonna be a tough one for starters. A problem with Mafia. Okay. Or Mob, as you wanna call it. He given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon. Okay. Greed needed to know who the threat was from. He'd get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue his scheme to get rich. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, folks see I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low-key, which is where you come in. Even though, I mean, women detectives were not common at all in those days, so I guess you're attracting much attention. Anyway, it's your call, so you're the one paying. I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. He must have noticed my reticence, because he said, you know, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want to protect me as much as any other victim. Okay. My uncle. Lewis has put me on the force? I finally accepted Lewis' death. What? I was still searching for answers, I guess? He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. With that ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. Those thoughts haunted me. I quit the SFPD, goddammit, I can never say it, and started my own practice, taking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would it be worth Lewis? Maybe not. It's sure creeping me out. You sure this is not a Batman episode of the Joker? Green had tipped on my uncle in a few cases. I wonder if that was enough to warrant my protection. So, the idea of Lewis changing and making the world a bit safer was to dealing with rum runners? Okay, I guess so. I mean, in those times they were considered criminals, so, okay. Before I could think past my headache, he threw a bill in my lap. Keep the C-notes as a retainer, and don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat. He walked out the front door and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. Okay, I turned back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to Southern Coffee was usually the cure. Okay. We go out then. I mounted a gold plate on the outside that read PC Malone. Post Continuous Malone? Private investigator. Okay, so we have an artist, the ancestor of the artist, I guess. There was only one place I needed to go to clear my head. Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It was a modern, hip, or ever busy, and it was my favorite place to down some paint. Especially the company of the best bartender in the city. Someone got a crasher there. Oh, and a car too. Okay, that's cool. I gave my address and slouched into the back seat of the taxi cab. Okay, no, never mind. I thought like police officers, I mean, they weren't paid much, I suppose. I thought a good way to pass the journey might be to chat with the driver. Okay, why not? He was young and not a teenager, but not far off. The redness in his face and a mean scowl told me he was angry. Don't much like driving taxicabs, I offered. He looked quizzically at me through the rear view before understanding what I meant. No, lady. I like it right enough. Just some bozos before you were in here was giving me hell cause I look like the boy his daughter's going with. Went off about how my generation was ruining America. That scumbag don't know jack. America fucker. It sounds like you know, let's try to extrapolate some information. Sounds like you know more, I asked. I'm no genius, he replied. But you talk to anyone from the last century, they'll tear off your ear for just being young. How did it get so high, I wonder? Give the world in the 1890s like a smooth-running roaster. Then what they do, bash it on every curb in the sight. Their greed, the war, their politics. Now they give us a ruined clunker, and they're mad at our manners when he grabbed the keys. Agreed. Yeah, I kind of like the scuffle they gave to young people. I mean, who the fuck are you talking about? We have stuff like rights and something better than the 20s. So, yeah, agreed. The Great War was the hardest fought. At home and abroad, I said. The old man who put us there had some nerve. He replied hotly. And after those years, they tell us to get in line. It's a bum deal to me, sister. Not very respectful to the clientele. We're in the formation age, and the news of the world is crap. They're just angry you can see their folly. Well, I guess nothing has changed much. Forging information has always been a thing. Fake news. The taxicab rolled to a stop. Anyhow, the driver said, thanks for letting me blow off steam. Have a nice day, miss. And also you can reduce a little bit the price of the ride, perhaps? I opened the car door and stepped out. Maybe he will be useful for information later. Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at the right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet, where Frankie played the bathroom attendant. Okay. Southern Coffee had a distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face. Oh, you have very simple pleasures. Okay, let's talk to the famous bartender. Frankie tended bar at Southern Coffee. Though it wasn't his place, I never caught a whiff of the real owners. Distrusted Frankies do what he did best. Drinking. Hello! I said hello, Frankie. It was met with a smile and a groan from Franklin Innes Conway. He was a fantastic orator, he was a big fella. A fantastic orator, but knew when to be a good heir too. For my money, there hasn't ever been nor will... What? Okay, let me restart. For my money, there hasn't ever been nor will there ever be a more loyal barman. Okay. I sat at the bar. You got the spooks, PC? He asked. You're worn as a catcher's mitt. I suppose my exhaustion showed. I won $100 for nothing. I can't let it go. I told Frankie about the case. The threatening letter sent to Connor Green. How he assumed it was related to his bootlegging and his suspicion of Redstone Stable. The story took longer than I wanted. Frankie showing genuine interest by asking many questions. Then when I finished, they threw me at the whiskey sour he'd been stirring. I took a large gulp and gave a sigh as a thanks. Huh, I'm sure you would be interested. I mean, he's in the market as well of alcoholics. Well, Green's case it's better than most of what you're given, he said with some enthusiasm. At least it's not more of that adultery bunk. Sure, I replied, but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point in helping a man like Green? Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. Lawyer priest, why does it matter? Let me ask you. Are the clients you have now the types you want to help? I admitted they weren't kinda like. I told him that I wanted more for my detecting life. It could be that Green's case shoots your career forward, Malone. Or maybe you can go, like, hibernate for a while, change sex and then become a rapper? Is he considered a rapper or a pop artist? I don't know. I sighed and stared down at my drink. But my daze was interrupted by the basement door opening and then slamming shut. Ha! Who's that? You cheated on my husband? Or something? A small blustering woman began marching towards me. She looked younger than me, than 25, and was a few inches shorter than my 5'6". I thought her grey trench coat was too large for that small frame, which was when I realized it was exactly like the one I had belonged to. Lewis. Ah. Okay, she hurled insults at me a while. All I could do was sit and take it until she ran out of gas and started breathing heavily. I set my drink on the bar and looked her in the eyes. I studied her features more thoroughly. It was plain she was a knockout, now that she'd finished her shrieking. Beyond the latest blush and lipstick, she had the natural soft skin and bright eyes perpetually desired by the opposite sex. A bit of inch of lesbianism, haven't we? While I was eyeing her, she caught her breath and restarted her tirade. I'm the wife of that bum who sneaks into your bed. I thought so. Where'd you get the coat? Yeah, where did you get that to it, eh? I asked her. What? She said, confused. I don't know, my husband gave it to me. Look, don't change the subject, you floozy. I saw him leave your sty this morning. Oh, okay. And that was when I gathered she was Connor Green's wife. I think that... Oh, no, it's not the first time. Mrs. Green, I'm a PI, not a home wrecker. And I don't know if... I don't think... Even though that would make for a great, good porn plot, I guess. And I don't think your husband, in his line of business, would want to bed with that... Would want to bet a dick anyhow? What? Her look was of pure incredulity. A woman in that line of work, she questioned. I don't believe it. Prove it. Connor Green... Wow, so far my goals are to prove things to unnecessary people. Connor Green had just given me a case that involved his bootlegging. I still wasn't sure if it would be worth my time. Okay. Evidence. Paper stack. Green's letter. The day before he came to me, Green had received a typewritten letter. Yep, that's right. I told her about why Connor had come to me, the bootlegging and the threats. You see, Mrs. Green, this is what I do. There's not much more I can show you to prove it. It still took more coaxing for her to believe me, but eventually she came around. She seemed grateful I explained it to her. Apparently she had seen her husband leave my apartment, and distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement and decided to confront me. Okay, she's a little bit less crazier than her husband. I suppose I lost my head after what I thought I'd seen, she said, as she began to cry. Looks like a love interest for me? Okay. Frankie, ever little chivalrous to a dimmed girl, come around the barn and held her up. Now that's alright, Mrs. Green. Why don't I hail you a cab and send you back home? She agreed and they walked together up the stairs. When Frankie returned, I said to him, You turn night real quick? He snorted a laugh. Ah well, we can't have that siren here. With a torture yelling at that, every street bugger would have to come to her rescue. Ah, that's right, probably. Mrs. Green is a torch singer. What's a torch singer? Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor Green just now, when she came in here. I'd only seen her as Lil Fanny, singing lead for the jazz band at the Tin Spoon. The Tin Spoon? I said. Tiny Paul's joint? That's where Green is selling his liquor. That's interesting. Say, you think that's where she met her husband? I laughed. You're the real sloth, Frankie. He made a sarcastic bow. That's more interesting. I can see some love affairs involved in the story. I shook my head. You're telling me you escorted our little torture out just to avoid a bit of hot water? Frankie flushed and said, What are you talking about, Malone? I was never good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. Oh, you Frankie, that's mine. She's mine, okay? Once you try lesbian, never go back. That's the motto she invented right away. Even though probably lesbianism wasn't even considered those days. I suppose. I don't know. Maybe it was considered, but for sure it was a hell damned. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her? I asked. Wink wink. What more could you possibly want from Lil Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. I can contradict or not. Let's see. Evidence. Statements. Can I choose any of these? Suspect's redstone stable. Got a friend in that has a new bootlegging scheme. She was following her husband. No, that's weak thing. Cigarette spoon, perhaps? She has more to do with redstone stable. No, barbershop, it doesn't matter. Has no bootlegging scheme. Perhaps this one. How does that prove if she knows anything? God damn it. Okay, I need to use another statement. Fuck. Thank you, Frankie, for giving me another chance right here. Following her husband? Probably. Mrs. Green followed her husband to my place, I said. Why would she do that? Frankie rolled his eyes. PC, if you were Green's wife, would you trust him with anything? I'm sure he's always up to something. I shrugged and stood up from the bar stool. Okay, I guess no more stuff? What had just happened was quite a ruckus. It seemed like my cue to move along. Maybe hang on a bit more wine? I grabbed the wine bottle and the bar and examined its label. It featured a picture of grapes and the words sacramental use only. Haha, good old... How was it called? Prohibitionism? Yeah. Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eye. Go ahead, he said, give it a swing. Okay, why not? Thanks, Frankie. I grabbed the half-empty glass that had been next to the bottle and swirled some of its contents between my gums. A bit spicy, ain't it? Frankie asked. It's good. Yeah, let's be the tough one. I nodded and gulped the rest down. It'll cost you too, he said with a smile, and he grabbed the bottle from me, turning it through his hands. Rabbis charge more than a nickel for this beauty. Only this type of Napa wine is made from that Zinfandel grape. It has a unique aroma. Ah, okay, I guess this is a nice hint. So I can mix alcoholism and drinking wine with the clues, I guess, so that I can recognize a kind of wine when I see it more. I've been trying to learn more about wine. Seemed everyone knew their stuff but me. I noted what Frankie had said about the origin of the grape as he set the bottle back on the bar. Since when do you know grapes? I chided. Frankie let out a belied laugh. Some of these grapes are older than you, Malone. I've known about them since I was a small tot. That's why I'm so good at my job, you know? Frankie sighed. Too bad more folks can taste them. That woman's league is a devil. Ah. The Women Christian Temperance Union was now under feminist Frances Willard, a positive force for the suffrage of women, but a staunch supporter of prohibition, along with the union's massive political clout, irked the very wet San Franciscan public. And she particularly wasn't popular with bartenders. Yeah, I see why. I turned back to Frankie. Ask about notes. Okay, what can you tell me about my icebox being empty? Okay, start. Can I ask more about it? The wine we shared earlier, I started. Ah, Zinfandel, he mused. Best grape for me, local to California, you know. And no, you aren't having any more. I thought about... Okay, now, forget that. I thought that you could tell me more where it came from. Let's see, as a new bootlegging scheme. Could be interesting. I pulled Green's letter from my pocket and showed it to Frankie. I'm still thumped on this note, I told him. Frankie shook his head, puzzled as I was. Well, Green said he thought Redstone Stable sent it. Maybe he did? Talking with him could at least lead somewhere. I agreed and vowed to speak with Stable. I folded the note back into my pocket and thought about what else I could ask Frankie. Okay, I shall ask him one more thing and then we're good to go. What about... what can you tell me about she singing at Teen Spoon? Okay, never mind. Okay, another statement perhaps. Redstone Stable. He's the man Green pointed you towards, Frankie asked. It's possible he still knows something about this mess. Okay, thank you. Okay, you don't have anything more to say. Thanks, Frankie, and anything more? Oh, that's right. Mixology, another religion favorite of mine. Frankie had a bond with that old shaker at the end of the bar. I was surprised he hadn't named it. He could sling a mean drink, though it only used the good liquor if he liked you. Frankie liked me. Can you please hand me something? Once I'd asked Frankie to lend me some cash from the register. He growled so fierce that I decided not to ask again. I didn't think his employers would notice before I got it back. But maybe he just wanted to save me from myself. Haha, that could be it. Oh. What about you there, little fella? Frankie kept a collection of Prohibition bottles on a shelf behind the counter. Their shapes and colors were far more alluring than the opaque jugs of modern swill. These labels showed a rearing horse in front of a forest. I had no idea how the horse related to California's most genuine bourbon whiskey, though I suppose I did stare at the picture long enough to whet my appetite for the bottle's contents. Okay, what about this one? Another thing? This label had a poem on it. Fill full your cups, feel no distress. At all our great thoughts shrinking less. We'll do a good deed nevertheless. Okay, well thanks Frankie. Goodbye. The worn stairs led to the outside world. Okay, it's time to interrogate her. I was heading up the stairs when Frankie called after me. So, what are you going to do? I've been thinking about my sister. I've been thinking about my sister and the letter she had written to me. In some ways her life sounded appealing, but I knew I would never be satisfied with it. I steel myself. I guess I'll take Connor's Green's bait, I replied. I've got nothing better than stove, and he might need the help. Something still stinks, though. Well, what's your plan? Frankie asked. The way I see it, I have 3 goals right now. Yeah, talk to the guy, find the guy who wrote the letter, basic part. I have to learn about him, who is this guy, dig in his past. How Green get a connection like that? About bootlegging. Okay. That sounds alright, he replied, so where is you're off to? I got 3 leads. Bootlegger stable, okay. The Teen Spoon Lounge could be interesting, and Mrs. Green. Well, if you're ever stuck, come back and see me. Okay, well thanks, party. Okay, let's go to Green's house. I want to have fresh information. Green's house might contain more clues about his past. For some reason a threatening letter would come his way. And if I got lucky, Mrs. Green would be there to pump with more questions. Yeah, now that I treated her well, it's a good place to go. I entered a taxicab driven by an old man with a mustache. Turned to me with the eyes that had a painful glee. Sorry, said in a rough voice. This is the end of the demo. Fuck. I can't take you any further. I didn't know exactly what he meant, but something in that gaze made me understand. Now, if you keep your eye out for a full release, that will be swell, he continued. But for now, please exit to the main menu. I nodded and went away. That's a strange thing to say in that taxi. And that was Ben Wonder Presents a Case of Distrust. So, I'm really interested in this game, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Feel free to check it out. I'll put a link in the description down below so you can check it out and play it for yourself if you want to. Maybe you can try out some different choices I made. Perhaps you can do better than me. Probably you can do better than Probably you can speak better than me for sure. And I thank Ben Wonder and all the people that worked on this game, because I really enjoyed it. And especially like the style and the design of the transitions. And I also love the writing. It's very detailed and very nice, especially in this scenario. And to put a little sparkle on the wine, I guess, there's also the interesting case of a detective woman, which is very, very nice. I really appreciated the change. Even though it's quite not realistic, I'll admit, but okay, we're in the fantasy world, why not? So, thank you again for making this game, and thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of this game. Feel free to suggest me some others I should play for you, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for sticking around after this long-ass video, and hope to see you in the next one I will make. And remember, if you can't sleep, the clowns are gonna hit thee. Good night.